What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Create the Courage podcast. This is a show where we delve into the art of chasing your dreams, leveling up your skills, and most importantly, taking charge of your life. Now, I believe that nobody is coming to save you. It's up to you to step up, take control, and shape your destiny. As this is a journey I'm on, this podcast is all about talking to people from all walks of life, from all over the world, in the hopes to learn how they create the courage in their own lives. And today, my guest is a man who's been through a lot of challenges in life and he survived them and overcome them despite the odds. And now he makes a living sharing his story and lessons learned to coach and help people. I thank him for taking the time to come and speak with me and share his story. So without further ado, here's my chat with Lachie Samuel, a man that definitely represents someone who creates the courage. Lachie, mate, welcome to the Create the Courage podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time to come and chat to me today, mate, and responding to me at all when I reached out to you. So thank you very much. Welcome to the show. How are you? And if you don't mind, just let everybody know what it is that you do, and then we'll kick into it from there.
Cheers, bro. I'm doing really well at the moment. Obviously, been through some ups and downs in life, but at the moment, in probably the best place I've been mentally, emotionally, physically for a long time. At the moment, I do self leadership coaching. So it doesn't mean I'm going to tell you how to be a leader and lead people. It's really just how to show up for yourself, how to lead yourself, especially if you're a leader within a business in the mining industry, which I've worked with. And then apart from that, I do lived experience speaking. So I just fly up to a bunch of different sites and talk to the groups who are on site around mental, emotional health.
Mate, look, just to let people know, we've been friends on Facebook since I worked at the Good Life in Carousel and you were training there. I remember that.
Yeah.
So we haven't interacted as much over the years, but I've always seen your posts pop up. Like you always pop up in my feed, and I've been able to see from afar you go on this journey. To my understanding, I was like, oh wow, it looks like he's starting his own business. He's getting into talking and doing a lot of leadership stuff. Then I see you getting into talking about the more motivational stuff and going through your issues that you've gone through, as we all have, but you're sharing it so people can, learn from it, which I really admire. It's what got me hyped up to talk to you because I need to introduce you to Rob, the first person I interviewed on this podcast, because he's into leadership too. And I think you two would have a great conversation about leadership. He's another Maori fella. I need to put you on to him. He worked in the mines and he's into leadership and he's into personal training. He's a personal trainer I worked with. I think you two would get along really well. But I love that you're into doing leadership and just using your lived experience, because I know, having met a lot of miners or people that have been in mining, it's a very tough, mentally draining, I'm assuming, and just hard job to deal with being away and things like that. And I'm assuming that's what you get into it with them about. Like, I guess, what led to that? So were you working in the mines and then you had experiences that led you to want to talk about it to people? Can you let me know how that kind of came about?
Yeah. Well, I think from the start, like I got caught out being a dog of a boyfriend and a dog of a best
Okay.
friend back in Auckland, New Zealand. So I would have been like 18, 19 then, and cheated on my partner with my best friend's partner. And so instead of like, yeah, ridiculously heavy. I'm sorry to just throw that up there,
No, go into it. That's what we're here for.
but essentially with that, because I was someone who could never take responsibility for like the way that I showed up, instead of saying to my friend, I'm sorry, instead of accepting it with my partner, I chose to run away from Auckland to Kalgoorlie. So um, you're going to, you know, the middle of nowhere, it's hot as, and then all of a sudden I go from working in a gym back in Auckland slash being a plumber to being a scaffolder here in
Mhm.
Kalgoorlie, being one of the bros. And so that's
Yeah.
that's how I got into mining is
Wow.
not because I thought it was the best thing for me. My older brother had moved from Melbourne to Kalgoorlie, and he'd text me every night shift that he did and say, "This is how much I'm making, bro. You need to come here." So as soon
Mhm.
as that happened at home, and I felt there was a risk of like people not liking me or being caught out in the thing that I'd actually done, hadn't taken responsibility for. I just went straight over there because I was like, hell yeah, I can make some money and I'll be away from all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And so that was just who I was, man. Like a horrible person, like a terrible version of like a man, a young man. And then when you're in Kalgoorlie, I had access to steroids and alcohol, and that's part of our culture back then. Was especially when we were on site, we'd work from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. really hard, really hot. Get back to camp. We'd all go to the gym, and then we'd go straight to the pub, and we'd drink until the pub closes at 10 p.m. And then we'd take our drinks to another room, and we'd drink till 12 until security come and told us,
Gee.
go back to your room, go to sleep. And so we'd sleep from like 12 to 4. We'd wake up, we'd
Jesus.
go to the gym, and we'd run on the treadmills or do an exercise until we could do our breathalyzer and say, fuck, have I hit zeros? Yep, cool. I can make it to work today. So
Wow.
like that's just what the culture was, man. And just went up and down on and on. Met someone there. We got together, and then we went up and down as well, just because we were both people who had problems from our childhood, from our teenage years.
Mhm.
Both people who didn't feel good enough and just treated each other like pretty poorly. So we both went through depression um, after I moved to Perth, and yeah, it just wasn't easy, man. Like especially when you don't
Mm.
understand why you don't feel good enough, you just look for things that are going to make you feel good. Back then, probably with FIFO, the more money I make, the better I feel. The more I buy, the better I
Mm.
feel. For me, like, it sounds gross to say, but it's like the more chicks that I get their attention, the
Mm.
better I feel. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
horrible, man. But I think some of those things are what happen when you just don't feel like you're good enough for yourself or other people.
Yeah. Look, that's that's a lot, and thanks for sharing that, mate. Like, actually know it sounds like such a common story for people that I've talked to. That a lot of the guys in the mines get up to. Like, I've talked to people that would do. Like, I had a good friend who was doing 3 and 1. He did like 3 and 1 for yeah, like I don't know how many years, but he's so good and strong mentally. But like we stopped hanging out. We both worked at the casino together, and then had a friendship that moved on. But you know how life can happen. He lived down south ways, and we lived up north, and we were married and starting a family. And then he got a partner, and we just didn't hang out as much. But I remember him telling me, um, like just what the lifestyle was like being 3 and 1, or just being up there for long periods of time. And um, it must be hard being away from your friends and family. I don't know if you can probably attest. Like, was a lot of what you were doing to distract from being away from your day to day life, or did it feel, um, like it was just normal that that's just what you did, or was it more of a coping mechanism for being away, or did that play a part
I
in
think
it at all?
everything's part of being away, it's I think when we moved when I left, or I was in Kalgoorlie when we moved to Perth with my partner, but she pretty much said like, I want to move to Perth, I'm moving to Perth with or without you. And so I was like, okay, I
Yeah.
guess I'm going. And so went with her, um, was on a 4 and 1 at a place called
Jesus.
Sino. And man, like there was just a bunch of us who were trying to get with all the different girls at camp. Like
Mm.
it's just part of like was part of the culture. I don't know if it's part of the culture now because I don't spend enough time with people at
Mhm.
camp and like ask them what they're doing, how their partner is, and that sort of thing. But like, man, I don't know how many guys in our scaff crew and the other crews that were there were doing that stuff, but it happened a lot. Like it
Yeah.
was, yeah, sort of quote unquote normal there.
Yeah, it must be. Look, I don't know how you did 4 and 1. Jesus Christ! Like, I'm not built like that. I'm like, I've got an 8-year-old daughter, and I don't ever want to be away from. I don't think if I could ever, I don't think I could ever go up north and do it. And I don't know how they do it, but it must be tough. And you must have seen a lot and been through a lot with that. Now, you mentioned like you got into that because you were leaving a situation in um, back home. Uh, I did you find that you didn't like, when did it get to the point where you started reflecting on that, that you kind of ran away from it and you started dealing with? now, because now you seem so aware, and I've seen a lot of your posts and things like that. You're very open and like brave the way you share your story, especially with people who know you on Facebook and stuff. Like, when did that start coming in? Like, did you have a rock bottom with the mining life that led to, hey, I want to do something different? Or like, how did this reflection come about?
Yeah, that so the partner I left Kalgoorlie with to move to Perth, we went through the ups and downs when I was doing 4 and 1,
Oh,
and
really?
I got close to cheating with someone. Me and her split up while I was there. Then I was spending time with another person, and then we ended up getting back together. And me and the chick that moved to Perth. We got back together. We broke down, and then I met someone else. Uh, and eventually, she told me she was pregnant. And I was
Oh,
like,
well.
"What the hell? What the hell?
Yeah.
I didn't expect us to come. Like, we're not together. What's going on?" And then we went through an up and down of like trying to figure out what was next. Still weren't together. I was still with someone new. Um, and then she had baby and moved to Sydney, or I don't know where she moved to. It was sort of just like telling me she'd move there, but I got messages and stuff that'd say, "Hang on a second, you're in Karratha, up the north of WA." And
Wow.
so, yeah, I was struggling to get like time to even chat to my daughter, and that was probably like the heaviest part, which
Hmm.
started depression for me, um,
Yeah.
because it was no longer like just about me trying to be good enough in front of girls. It was like, hang on a sec, I've got a daughter. Like, why the hell can I not have contact with her? And
Mm.
so that put me in a really bad low. And then um, I remember nearly losing multiple people uh, to suicide, scaff bros as well, and that put
Mhm.
me in a real heavy place. So um, I went through a period of life where I was so depressed, but because back then I had no idea what like mental health or depression was, it
Mhm.
was just like, I'm not good enough. I'm shit. Like, I shouldn't be here. Like, I've got a daughter. I'm a crap
Mm.
like dad. Why, why would she come back to me?
Mm.
And so that's a place I was in. I remember attempting maybe 2015, maybe 2015, 2016. And so um, thankfully didn't finish it there. But because of that, that made me
Yeah.
realize, holy shit, what am I doing? Like, I need to
Yeah.
stay here and be here for my daughter. Like, that's
Yep.
probably not the answer.
Yeah.
And that's just because I was so sad because I didn't get to like talk to her, call her, even know where she was. So I was like, what the hell's going
Mm.
on?
It'd be
Um,
traumatizing. I can imagine I think that'd be traumatizing. It must have been
yeah,
tough.
yeah, and like back then, it would have been my ex's problem, my daughter's mum's problem. It's like, why are you doing this to me? When in
Yep.
reality, when I think back about who I was and how I treated her, even though the relationship was terrible, it's like I can understand when a woman doesn't feel loved, when she's got a daughter with you, but you still make her feel not worthy. Like,
Mm.
that's probably what the best thing was for her, like for her to like step into being herself and to be a little bit more balanced and not feel fearful about not being
Mm.
connected to me. So that was really cool, but that attempt made me, I think, look at like, why the hell do I feel this way? Why am I
Was
in
it
this
scary?
hole?
Was it scary? Is that like
Yeah,
a big experience? Like,
yeah. Well, I hated myself, man. Like, and a lot of
yeah.
people who don't feel good enough, they get to a place where they do like dislike
Mm.
themselves or hate themselves so much that you just want to like end everything that you have so that the
Yeah.
people around you have a life that's better, that you
Mm.
assume is better without you. So
Mm.
it was scary, and like since then I haven't tried again, which like that's how fearful I was because of it. It's like, oh crap,
Yeah.
I might go into those depressive episodes, and I would have in the past, but I
Yeah.
would never get to a point where I'd attempt, because I'm like, holy crap, like
Yeah.
that's close, and I don't want to
Yeah.
go back there. Like, as much as
That's
I
right.
dislike myself, as much as I don't feel good enough, I
Mm.
don't want to go back there. So really the only other path was going down the other direction, which was like away from suicidality, and to like improving your life, improving who
Yeah.
you are and how you show up for people. And so the goal then was, I know who I am, I know who I've been. I know I've been really horrible to my girlfriends, to women, to friends, to the people in my life. Like, it's probably time to start being a dude who's good, well, good enough that when my daughter comes back, like, I'll be a good person for her to be around. So that was really the goal, man. And that's where, like, studying counseling, that's where studying neuroscience, starting to do like a podcast about mental health and talk to people about their stories, and then lived experience speaking come from. It really just come from that.
Yeah. Wow. Look, I find that some of the worst things that happen to you in life really can, like, if you survive them and you get through them, they really do help shape the good thing that comes next. I feel like if
Yeah.
you look back on that incident, that instance forced you to take a different look at yourself, realize that you want to be there for your daughter. And I believe in the love between a father and daughter is, it's magical, and that stuff can keep you alive and keep you going just to want to be there for them. Like, I think I've had nightmares of not being there for my daughter. Like, it's crazy the effect it can have on you. So I'm glad that that helped get you through onto this path, which looking from the outside in, looks like an amazing path you're on. You're helping people, mate. You're actually out there helping people, making a living for yourself, sharing your experience. It seems like to me like it's that bottom pushed you in the right direction for where you are now. Would you agree that that was the catalyst?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think if that didn't happen, like her moving away and like so desperately wanting her back in my life, if that didn't happen and then lead to that attempt, I probably wouldn't have shifted, because there wouldn't
Mm,
have been no like pivotal moment that said, bro, that's enough. Like, this
mhm.
isn't the direction you need to go in, do something else. And
Yeah,
luckily enough, yeah. And you talk about you having kids and not wanting to be FIFO. I think when you
mm,
have kids and you are connected to them, like, you're good enough as a father or as a mother, you're connected to your kids and connected to your partner, like, there's less of a reason to want to be away, because most of the
yeah,
reason for being away is making good money or making better money than you can in town.
yeah. I d
It's
I
like
definitely
balancing those two, it's like, do I want to
yeah,
make more money and spend this time away from my family, or do I want to spend time with the people that I love and make a little bit less money and have,
yeah,
paying off whatever I have take a little bit longer?
yeah. Me and my wife Lani actually, mate, literally we've had this conversation all the time that we've worked our lives now. We've been lucky enough and taken opportunities and followed paths that have allowed us to get to the point now where we choose to make less money so we can be there for our daughter. So, like, we're there to take her to school, and we're there to pick her up from school, and we do lots of different things together. And that's a choice we've made because we want to be the ones who shape who she becomes, not daycare workers or other people. We want to be the ones to do the best that we can to shape her who she is. So we look at that about making more money, go for, like, I'm trying to chase a dream, doing the podcast and doing my other YouTube channel and all that stuff. We're lucky that we have our own business cleaning that we can set our schedule, like, and that was an opportunity that came up a few years ago that, I was still managing gyms. I left Good Life and then went to UFC. I managed the UFC for 4 years. And then COVID happened, which was a bad thing. I mentioned the bad thing happening because COVID was really bad, put us in a real bad spot. But from being locked in our house for 11 weeks and having no job because we weren't essential, I turned that into my love of photography and videography, starting a YouTube channel, doing this podcast, and starting a cleaning business. So if that thing didn't happen, we wouldn't have made those changes, I don't think, to go into those other areas, like, and change
That's
our
cool,
lives. So
man. That's awesome.
yeah, It's crazy. Like that's at least how I took it. Like, because we had to take our super out. We were struggling financially, and it was rough. But without that challenge, we wouldn't have grown into taking the chance of doing the things that we're doing now. I think. So we choose now. We're making that same decision to work less, to be there more while she's young. That's more important for us right now. We're just
That's
lucky enough
awesome.
that we can do it. I'm wondering. So when you made the changes, were you still working FIFO? You hadn't started doing this yet. Like, what led to you saying, "Hey, I want to start the podcast," and I want to Did you do self development for a while and then decide to do that, or was it kind of a journey at the same time?
I think I was learning. I did like maybe a certificate in counseling, something like that.
Okay.
And I was working 4-in-1 at a place called Wheatstone. And actually, at that point, I remember one of my breaks, I went to Youth Focus or something like that. And I went in and I was like, oh, is there something that I can do in here? Like, do you have a job that I can do? Like, I'm working away 4-in-1. I feel like it's time to stop that. And they're like, no, go do go do some coaching, go do some
Yeah.
certification or something, and then come back. And it's like, okay, cool. So I started doing that, and then literally I went back to Wheatstone for my 4-in-1. We
Yeah.
had two scaff bros take their lives by suicide,
Bloody
and
hell.
like that's just because there's one in Darwin and then one down. And so it was just because we were doing 4-in-1 and life was heavy, and relationships don't really work out when you work away, especially when you're not good at connecting and
Mm.
developing your relationship with your partner. And so when that happened, I had another point where I was like, shit, I don't want to be here anymore. Like I
Mm.
really worry that if I go back to my room by myself, I'm gonna do something stupid. So
Mm.
I went and spoke to the superintendent, like the boss of us, the Scaff Bros up at Wheatstone. And thankfully enough, man, he put me straight on a flight and got me out of there, just made sure I was safe. And, I was literally doing my first podcast when I was up on site. that,
Oh
that
wow.
last time, doing my story, it was a 20-minute one, but it took me like 3, 4, 5 weeks to do that and to edit it and to put it together.
Yep.
And so luckily when I got flown home and like my job was over, making good money, doing a 4-in-1 with the Scaff
Hmm.
Bros who I was like felt good about being around. I decided to do the podcast then, start it. And I started interviewing, it was called Open Up. And I was
I
interviewing
think I
people
remember
about
seeing that. I think I do
mm,
remember seeing it. You advertise it.
I was I started interviewing people about their trauma. And I think I did maybe like 4 or 5 episodes. And I remember talking to someone who was like still deep in it, like deep in their trauma and like
Yeah.
talking about people poorly. I was like, oh shit, I need to change this up. Like I need to talk to
Mm.
people who have overcome trauma, not who are still
Yeah.
in it because they probably need help. They don't need to talk about what they're going through to a bunch of people. So that's sort of how that
Yeah.
shifted, and that the podcast itself like led me to feeling confident about speaking because I was so afraid of speaking. Like I never, if a supervisor would have asked me to stand up and talk about something in front of like 10 groups of scaff bros, I would have probably like frozen and just walked
A lot of
away.
people would. A lot of people would, mate. I still get nervous doing this or any of the videos that I do. I don't know why. I always do. I always get a little nervous. It's just a thing, I think.
Yeah.
Like,
And I think
but
it
yeah,
goes away over time.
not for me, not
It's
yet.
that will, bro.
Not
Like
yet.
you're good enough at it. Um, so
Jeez.
yeah, it's like that's how it all happened. The podcast sort of gave me opportunities.
Yep.
I learned how to speak. I learned how to connect with people, and then that just turned into me making like videos and stuff on
Mhm.
Facebook. LinkedIn's probably where I got all of my work, nearly all of it, for FIFO mental health. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very lucky and very happy.
Yeah. So okay, so you started doing that. Were you able to get that other, like another job to step away from FIFO and then really focus on doing your courses and that? Like, what was the job that you got to do that? Was it with those guys eventually, or?
Surprise! It was gym membership sales.
Oh, nice. I think that was that.
So
Who
when
was it?
I when I co-
It was Good
when
Life,
I
right?
come to
No,
Good
Raw.
Life,
Oh, it was Good Life.
yeah. So I was their Genesis now. I was with Bailey's down here.
Yep.
Bailey's, can't remember what they're called. And then I run away from them really terribly. Like Raw got in touch with me and they're like, "We'd love to have you. Like, come, you can start like next week." And so I
Nice.
remember going into Bailey's and I was still working there. I was too scared. I was the sort of person who was too scared to like be honest and take ownership and say, "This is what I'm doing. I'm sorry. I apologize. It's not cool, but I'm leaving." So I went in,
Hmm.
did a workout, took my uniform, put it on the boss's desk,
Oh
wrote a note,
no.
and left, and went
Oh
to the
Jesus.
Raw that was just down the road. so, so I started at Raw, and then I ended up leaving Raw and then coming to Good Life. And then after like doing Good Life for a little bit in Myri maybe, and I
Hmm.
wasn't that good. I had a point where my ex had uh, a bunch of debt that I had to pay off. So that's when I went
Yep.
to Wheatstone and did the 4-in-1 and went through
Mm.
all that sort of stuff. And then after I did that, I ended up back at Raw in Coburn.
Wow. Good old
And I
Coburn.
think that's when we were like heavy into CrossFit and things like that. So
Yeah.
I loved being in that place, and that just gave me opportunity to do that and spend a little bit of time on it and then focus on doing the podcast on the weekends.
Yeah, nice. I do remember that now because were you training with Clinton? Was it Clint? Was it
Yeah,
Clinton? What's his name?
Clint.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Clint. Yeah, that's right. So you were training with Clint, and doing that. Um, I guess what was it like when you got like? How did you go about getting your first gig going up north to talk? Like, was that when you started doing lived experience talks, or was it more just going up there to talk about mental health with those guys? Like, what was the thing that came first? I guess.
Yeah, actually, the I think the reason that I first started getting work is I had the podcast, and then
Yeah.
people who were in mental health who wanted to help me out were like coming to me and telling me what to do, and then I ended up doing FIFO Mental Health Summit. Might have been 2017 or something, and that
Hmm.
was like I remember being on LinkedIn and randomly just posting, "Hey, I'm thinking about this. I want to do a summit. Who would come to that?" And then
Mm.
enough people who were like leaders in mining companies said, "Yep." I was like, "Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to do it in 4 weeks." It's
Oh
like,
wow,
yeah, we'll do it in 4
nice.
weeks. I'd never done an event in my life. I never
Yeah,
understood it. I just thought, "Oh, that's close. I'm going to do that." And so I did
yeah.
it, and we got 40 people there who were like bosses in the mining businesses.
Wow.
And then our first gig was with Woodside, um, at their oil and gas up in Karratha. And so, like, I'm so lucky, man, because I didn't know what I was doing. I had a guy show up, Jason Nelson, who was with one of the mining um, not for profits, and he was a speaker. And so he was really leading the event, really just talking about the stuff that he delivers. And then the company, Woodside, was like, "Hey, guys, come into the office. We want to talk to you." And they took us up north, and it started
Wow.
there. Um, and, you know, he ended up stopping what he was doing because it wasn't for him. And then I just sort of kept going, doing the podcast and doing that. And more companies just reached out, man. Yeah, at the moment, like we're vendors for BHP, Fortescue, Rio, so like all the companies really,
Yeah. Wow.
and it's real
So you're
cool. It's
crushing it. You're freaking crushing it. That's
yeah, well,
amazing.
it went from like not making anything that whole period of doing the podcast,
Hmm.
um, struggling to make money, and luckily enough, my partner was like working for the government, so she had a really good wage and she was good at her job. And I'd keep saying, I'm going back to FIFO, like I'm not making enough, like I'm not making money. And she'd just keep,
Yeah.
she had way more confidence in me than I had in myself. And she would keep saying, no, like, no,
That's
don't
amazing.
do that, do this. Yeah. And she's done it even like recently as well, like after going through strokes and stuff and thinking like, holy shit, I don't know what to do. So I'm very lucky to have her. And because I had her to push me into that, I just become really comfortable with speaking, with being in front of FIFO workers. And it went from like making nothing. I think my first speaking gig was $300 for like a 20-minute session during Are You OK Day. And then
Wow.
I remember meeting with one of the speakers and him saying, "What the hell are you doing, man? $300, like not even including GST." He's like, "I do
Yeah.
300 plus GST for an hour." And I'm like, "What the hell?"
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up getting
Wow.
jobs, and thinking about what he was saying, and his has gone up. He's up like 5-6 grand, and then one of my other friends is up at
Wow.
like 8 grand for their talk. But yeah, going through that, man, like I remember getting more and more opportunities and then putting that price up a little bit at a time just because I was so afraid. I was like, fuck, like I really need this work. If I don't have
Yeah.
this work, I'm going to be behind in money again.
Yeah.
And so I went from like 300 to like 1,000 to 1,200 and then up
Mm-hmm.
to like 2,100 to 24. And then now it stays at about 36 to 4,200 a day to like
Yeah.
go and talk, or 3 grand for an hour.
Yeah.
So it's good enough, man. It's good enough for me. It's
That's
with
amazing.
I was lucky enough to get a couple people into the business last year, and do really well. We finally like hit a point where we were doing like 50 grand a month, and I really didn't have to
Wow.
do much work. Like I had to maybe do like 2 days a week, and the rest was like for them, and the 2 days for me was really just like speaking. So
Mm.
it got to a really awesome point, man. But with everything that I've been through recently, I've just realized that I'm probably just gonna like limit it and pull it back and focus on me doing what I want to do,
Mm-hmm.
and not needing to make as much money, which is
Yes.
ridiculous. But when you realize that the more money you make doesn't actually make you better, doesn't actually make your family, your kids, or your partner love you more. And
Mm.
you realize, oh, okay, cool. I probably need to refocus of like work and making money, so I feel good to focusing
Yeah.
on my partner, my kids, my parents, my good friends who I like spending time with. Do
Mm-hmm.
that first, so that I feel good within myself, and then like take that to work and help people.
Yeah. I think so. Like, look, that's a big journey I've definitely been on, following these passions of mine, right? Like we've been lucky to have the work the way it is. And now I'm able to like I'm getting into videography and photography, and I've got the gear now, and I'm filming. I filmed a couple people in the gym, a trainer in the gym, Kevin with actually Kevin and Sophie, two trainers. So I'm getting practice doing that. I'm like, my dream one day would be able to make a documentary or be a cameraman, like be a director of photography or something like that. That's the dream. And I got to a point, I'm 42. I got to a point where I'm like, I'm just going to try and do that in life, because I don't want to be on my deathbed, if I'm lucky enough to be aware close to the end, and regret not going after things that I really were passionate about. And I'm passionate about art and stories, and I just love the creative side of life. And for so long, like as we all do, you get caught up working, trying to pay bills, keep up with the Joneses even, and make money to support all that. I just got to a point where I'm like, you know what? No, I don't need all the money. We've got our family. We want to spend time together. Those are the things that matter most to us, is spending the time together. I think I look to take the lessons I took from my personal life growing up with how my parents were, and I try to do the things that were good, and I also try to avoid the things that were bad.
Yeah.
And you know we had time where we weren't around each other as much. So I'm like, that's a big thing for me, being there for my daughter and being there for my wife and spending it. So I think you're on the right track with that, mate. I really do. Like, all that money's going to come and go. Money will always be money. It just is family and the time with your kids and your loved ones and the rest of your family is definitely the most important thing, I think. We just get so caught up in the way the world is with social media and wanting to buy things, and we forget that that's the simplest stuff really is. God, it sounds like cliche, but I feel like it is. Sounds like you've come to that realization too. And how's that working out for you? Now, you mentioned some health things happened. So were you going full on hardcore, working hard? Like, what led to you having these health issues, like with that underlying health issues? If you want to let me know, if you want to
Yeah.
explain the strokes and like how that came
Well,
about, like,
I just would have been like so overweight, so unhealthy.
yeah,
Like when I met you, when I was at Good Life, I probably would have been in like decent shape. I'd
hmm
probably ended like steroids and stuff. So maybe like
you look jacked. I remember you being jacked. Like, I thought you were like a jacked
like
CrossFit athlete.
like 90 kgs back then, and so
Mhm.
um, before I got sick, I hit a point where I was like 133, like 133 kgs. That's literally
Wow.
40 something that I put on.
Wow.
And I started speaking. I did the podcast and started doing the stuff with FIFO, going out and helping them and coaching them when I was like 90 to 95 kgs. So I would have been like fairly healthy, or
Yeah.
quote unquote healthy, because I still would have like drank when I wanted to, use steroids when I
Mhm.
wanted to, use like, yeah.
You look healthy. That's what people forget, that on in the industry, you might look healthy, but you might not be healthy. So I definitely get that.
Yeah, like terrible anxiety, mental health, but went from that, and my my goal become like making money, because I never felt that I was like good enough. And in my head, I had to make X amount of money and
Mhm.
buy these different things, pay off the house until I felt good enough for my partner, for her family, for my parents. Like, I don't know where that come from,
Mhm.
but that's where I was at. And so the more I committed to doing FIFO and focusing mostly on that, and creating content for it, that sort of thing, the heavier I got, because the more I used like drugs, not drugs, alcohol,
Mhm.
food, like treats, sugar, to make myself like feel better. So the stuff that I
Mhm.
was going through, I would use the alcohol and the food to like balance that out, to mask it.
Yeah.
Um, and I thought I was doing well, man. Like I thought I was doing well because I was helping people. I was
Mhm.
making heaps of money. We'd got a house and we'd started building out like a place like this for my partner to work out when I was away.
Mhm.
It's just I didn't realize like how bad being overweight is for your health. Like,
Mhm.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, that hit a point where I had to start working on it, because my testosterone had dropped out, and that was really bad. My mental health was terrible.
Mhm.
Um, and I'd got the vaccine and got like myocarditis and like clots in
Oh,
my hands
Jesus.
and stuff. And got bounced from the hospital like multiple times with that. And that's just part of what happens with vaccines and hospitals.
Mm.
It is what it is. It's
Bloody
not
hell.
good, but can't really
Mm.
change it. And so
Nothing you can do.
I remember like losing the feeling in one of my hands, going to the hospital and going through scans, and them telling me, "Oh, there's nothing wrong. I think everyone else is just sick at the moment. Like you're just sick. Here, take this pill, go home, and you'll be fine in a couple of days." And that just turned into like having a sore head out of nowhere. Um, and so yeah, I remember having a sore head, going back to hospital, um, them saying there was nothing wrong, uh, and then I went home. And I went home. I remember lying like on the couch, and I couldn't move, couldn't do anything for a few days. Then ended up just going to hospital again. And the only reason they did scans for me is because I told them I went to a chiropractor. And she was like, "Oh, no, chiropractors are dangerous. Like, you shouldn't let them touch your neck. We're going to do your scan and make sure it's okay." And so I remember getting the MRI, coming out, and her coming in, the lead doctor, and going, "Well, good news. It's not about the chiropractor. Like, you're fine there. You're healthy there." I was like, "Wicked, cool. I'm going home." He's like, "But we need to send you to another hospital. Like, you've got a clot in your neck. You've got a clot in your brain. Like, it's not good. Like, we're worried. I don't know how to help you." And so they sent me to Furnace, and then spent a week there. Got sent home again, and then maybe half a week later went back there. Was in ED. Doctors were coming out and telling my partner, "We've given him pain meds. He should be okay. He should be fine." Then it hit a point where, and I don't remember, maybe for like a month after this point, my partner ended up going to a doctor and saying, "No, like, something's wrong. He can't talk. He can't see. Like, he doesn't know where he is. Like, this isn't medication." And so thankfully she bumped into someone else who took me for a scan, and they just realized, holy shit, like, he's going to die. And
Bloody hell.
sent me to the city. And I just don't remember none of it, bro. I remember waking up on one of the beds and my parents are there, and then waking up maybe like a couple of weeks later and my brothers were there, who are from bloody New Zealand. It's like, what the hell are you guys doing
Gee.
here? But like, people were brought in because they were told I was like gonna die, and that was just like a heavy period, man. Being in hospital, because I'd lost like my vision, because I couldn't walk. I'd lost my memory too. Like, I didn't know who my partner was, like my missus, and we've got a 5-year-old together.
Wow.
Because I couldn't remember my parents' names or like anyone's names, nothing really. That was a really heavy time, and I went through. They gave me seizure meds, telling me that I had a seizure, and then after, I don't know, 6 months of taking it, they ended it, and then told me, "Oh, there's no proof that you had seizure. They just wanted you with it." And I found out like that you go through depression and anger and all that stuff with those medications. So I was like, "Oh, Jesus, I wish I knew that at the start," because I remember being in the hospital in the city, not really remembering my partner's name, and her like being there for me, and I just wanted to go home because I didn't realize how like bad I was. I was like, "No, I'm ready to go home." I remember standing up and going to the counter when I could start walking again. I was like, "Cool, hey, I'm going home now." And they're like, "Okay." And so they had to get like security to like stay in front of my room, keep me in there.
Oh my God.
And I remember like hating my partner because I was like, "Why do you not want me to come home?" Not understanding like where I was actually at. So that was up and down, man. Up and down for a few months in hospital, like rehabbing. There was a period where I lost my vision and like my speech and stuff again, and couldn't do anything. And then they shot me down from the hospital down to where you get surgery. And so that's when they were going to cut my skull open and like drain the brain of like the clot and the bleeding because it was bleeding out. And they got my parents and my partner in again, said like, "He's going, you guys need to be here." And it's just lucky that the surgeon who was doing someone else's brain at the time, he was like, "Look, I've got this. It's going to take 20 minutes. Can you please just go scan him and make sure he's 100% going to need to be in here with me?" And they went and scanned, and they were like, "Oh, for some reason, it looks like it's going to be okay." And then, didn't do it. They didn't do it, man.
What?
It's just, it's crazy. It's crazy, like the up and downs of life, bro, and like what you go through.
What a freaking time. Like, so was this in when 2000, what year?
This was like last year.
Last year, 2024.
October. No, September, October. So that was from I think end of June. I started going to hospital, and then
Yeah.
maybe end of October I left.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Bloody hell. So
great.
you got the vaccine and got myocarditis from that. That's a separate thing to this, right? This was years before when you would have got it back in
Yeah,
2020,
I,
20,
I
right?
got the vaccine late because I didn't want to, but
Yeah.
I ended up having to because I needed it to be FIFO. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, I got that myocarditis maybe like a year or so before it, and
Okay.
then I got bounced for that again. There's inflammation, but there's no problem with your heart. so, so it's crazy, man. But when I look back at that, like I didn't want to get the vaccine, but I chose to
Mm.
for money.
Yeah. We didn't want to get it, but we ended up bloody caving near the end. I'll regret it to forever. We regret it forever. After knowing what you know now. Look, I tell you what, even that opened our eyes. That red pilled us would be the say to what's actually going on in the world for real. Um, so even though I regret it, like I felt I lost my fitness and after it, and I don't know if it's psychological, but ever since I got the jab, I just have not had the same fitness level that I used to, and the same desire to get active like I did. I would train every day. I'd be up at 5 every day training, and then you know. I also got into YouTube. That played a part because I was using that time, but my fitness has just never been the same. So
Yeah, oh, I'm not surprised, man. Like a lot of people have clotting, like the amount of nurses we bump into who hear about what I went through, and they're like, man, it's crazy how many men are coming in here with clots. Like how many people who are young who are clotted.
yeah,
Yeah, and like the only person who said it could be the vaccine was the hematologist, but after he told me that, he got let go. so,
well
so
there you go, there you
no one
go.
talks about it, and
No one wants to talk about
it is what it is. It's the space doctors are in, and
it.
they have
Yeah,
to talk about the things that they're supposed to talk about. But like on top of that, man, if I wasn't so overweight, if I wasn't so like obsessed with making more money so that I like myself, so that the family like me, whatever,
hmm,
I probably wouldn't have had the moments that I had. And like, although everything was crap at the time, especially when I realized, holy fuck, like I've had a business that was like 50K a month where I didn't really have to do much, and
hmm,
then that's all gone to nothing. Where we're like earning nothing and going backwards in debt.
hmm.
Like Jesus, how much did we go backwards in? Like maybe 120K debt, 120K and stuff that we're having to pay for, like for my
Gee,
protocols and my health, plus the
hmm,
business, plus the house. Like that's a lot to go backwards in. But it's
yeah,
like if all that didn't happen, I probably still would have been the same person with the same problems, who wasn't like as connected to the people I love as I wanted to be.
yeah.
Um, yeah, and
I get
thankfully
that.
enough, man, because of that, I've got opportunities to come back again to
Mm,
work the way that I want to work, to do the coaching and to do the FIFO stuff again, but just as myself rather than a business with a few people.
mm. Yeah, look, mate, that's an. I love how you seem to you at least learning the lessons that you're going through. Everybody's gone through these types of lessons throughout their lives. The question is whether they learn from them and make adjustments to actually figure out who they want to be and what they want out of life. I feel like a lot of people are just lost living for the weekend, or just lost in gossip or drama about things that don't need to be, um, I guess, thought about so drastically. So I think I love talking to people like yourself who, um, yeah, you've had shit happen. Like I've had shit happen too, and uh, you do get depressed and you do get down, but you found a way to learn from it and turn negatives into positives, and that's so inspiring, mate. That really is inspiring to hear.
Yeah, I
Um,
think you have to, man. Like if you're focused on the negative and how shitty your life is, the way I look at it is when I was in hospital, I was so angry about like losing what I had in my business and
Mm.
losing the opportunities and losing the growth that I thought I was having financially. If
Mhm.
I would have stayed there, I probably still would have been upset. Nothing ever would have been good enough. And so I
It's never
really
enough.
like wouldn't have liked myself. I wouldn't have felt good enough for my family. And so there wouldn't be like love there and connection there. So life wouldn't have been like enjoyable. It wouldn't have been
Yeah.
enjoyable until I got to the point I wanted to get to. But when you finally like tick off those goals or hit those goals that you set, if they're
Mm.
not the thing that you actually want or need, you hit
Mm.
them and then you think, shit, that's not good enough. What's next? And so
Yeah.
it's just ongoing, man.
It's a
And
very common thing. Very common.
absolutely.
It really is. Like, I mean, I got a bit like that when I got my first managing job at Good Life in Bibra Lake. And it was like an hour drive from here in peak traffic from where I am to get there every day. So I was spending a lot of time in traffic. Like, yeah, I'd leave at 5 in the morning. We just had my daughter Mila. So this was in like this. I took a month off and then I went to work um, at Bibra Lake as the manager, I think. Yeah, that was it. And so I was leaving at 5 in the morning while my wife was looking after our daughter and not getting home till like maybe 5:36, sometimes 7 at night.
Well,
When I'd be spending 2 hours a day generally in traffic, which sucked. But in that time, I got into self-development stuff like motivational talks and YouTube videos and fitness people and thinkers and all that type of stuff. And I think, which I think a lot of us do, is we get so caught up in that I'm going to be successful and dominate and create a business and make this much money and I'm going to be, because that'll help me look after everybody and I'll just be that's what life's about. I went through that too, and then getting upset by not hitting goals or doing things until I realized that, like, when realizing that actually, no, I just want to be with my daughter and have her look back when I'm gone one day and think that she had a great childhood and she had a best friend. And really, at the end of the day, when we all go, I just want to know I spent the most time I could with my daughter, because in my life, my daughter and my wife in my life, they're who I want to be around. And whether we're just going for a walk, we're watching a movie or drawing or whatever, I really have come to a place where that's all I care about. I don't care about anything like big holidays or trips or things like that. I just want to be around and help shape my child into the person I know that they can become. It's just been a crazy journey for me like that. So it's cool to
it's
hear you
awesome.
say that. Yeah,
I think
it's cool
that's
to,
what, like, that's an enjoyable part of life. You know,
yeah.
when you stop focusing on the people you love and you want to spend time with, like you're not going to
Mm,
connect with them, and then you're going to need like more of all the outside stuff,
mm,
and it just doesn't matter as much. Yes, we're going to have to make money and pay for
mm.
what we have, but for a lot of us, we don't have to do as much as we think we have to, especially if we want to be successful, like quote unquote successful.
Yeah, quote unquote. Yes.
Worth a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Like, and that's why I say we're lucky. We're just very lucky that we get to do that. We even went into the business, like, into cleaning, and it's just by chance, how things happen and just seeing opportunities. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have the freedom. And maybe, if I was still working a 9 to 5, I don't think I would have had the time to have that clarity about getting to experience running your own business, like running your own business and being a manager for a company or an employee for a company is very, very different. Like, that's a big learning lesson that I've had. Did you ever have was that a big lesson for you? Like, when you started having to deal with the big bosses of these mining companies and you're negotiating, when you're upping your price, worrying about that, negotiating those deals, like, how valuable was all that? Like, did you just learn that yourself, or did you, do a course for it, or was it just on the fly?
No, I didn't. I didn't really do a course for it, man. I sort of I just wing stuff. it's,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous, but I like just
That's
try.
what I do.
And sometimes I would throw a price out there, and it'd be way too high. Like, especially with coaching, right? I think about one-on-one coaching, and I started at maybe 2,400 for 12 weeks, and then the next coaching block I had, I bumped it up, and instead of bumping it up by a little bit, I bumped it up to $5,000 for 12 weeks.
Ooh.
You know, people would be like upset and pissed off with me, but then I'd have like one or two people say yes out of that group.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Nice.
okay, cool. And for me, it meant, okay, maybe next time I bump my prices up, I'm not going to bump it up more than double what it currently is, because that's
Yeah.
going to make people shit the bed and leave. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's essentially what I've started doing with mining. And when I look at the people around, the people that I talk to who are speakers, who their price point is like way higher than mine, it makes me comfortable with what I can charge or what I
Yeah.
am charging. And
Yeah.
you know, even to a point where I remember going to Fortescue and them taking Theo, and it's like $8,000 for one session. But because he had to be on site, he had to fly up in the morning, fly home at night. I think it was something ridiculous, like $12,000 for that
Wow.
day. And when I gave my price to them, the guy who was helping with Theo, because he was before me, the week before me, and then I come in the week after,
Mm-hmm.
he was like, "We're going to have you here for 4 weeks, and it's like 20 something grand, and that's 4 weeks of 2 days a week. 20
Yeah.
something grand. Is this right? Are you sure?" And I didn't get that until I went to site and met Theo, and he
Oh.
told me this. I was like, "Holy crap! No wonder they thought it was wrong." because I'm doing like 8 days, which is like one and a
Yeah.
bit for you.
Oh my God.
But that still felt like I still feel comfortable with that. Like making that
Yeah.
money for me is still good.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not going to push it up to a point where people don't want to pay it. Like
Yeah.
it just
That's the
feels.
dance. That's the dance when it comes to sales. And we had the same thing. Like, I have no idea what cleaning companies charged. I just started throwing out numbers. Like, I was literally like, oh, what could we, I was like, what can we live off? What can we like live and pay our bills? And I got a little bit more for that to account for the GST and all that jazz. And I'm like, let's just give it a go and see what happens. And luckily, the first like big company that we got in with said yes. And I'm like looking at it like, what? Now we've actually got to go do it.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't expect them to say yes. Oh well, I guess we're doing this. And then I gave my notice to the gym, and it felt so crazy, like giving notice and being like, oh, like like we're running our own business. Like, what the heck? Okay, cool, right, let's go for it. They took the price, and then I think you kind of have to go through those experiences, like throwing something out there and seeing what comes back, to then get the confidence moving, like, for moving forward with
I
other
bet
ones.
they were
I think,
excited that you were doing cleaning and not teaching people how to sell gym memberships.
yeah, that's probably what it was. Oh man. But it's a crazy experience when you're doing your own thing and just figuring out what to charge people and stuff. So that's cool. It sounds like you got it down pat now. So I guess, so now you've had those experiences. Now I've seen you posting a lot about going carnivore, doing a carnivore diet and getting back into health and fitness. And I actually feel like you've lost a lot of weight, like from the last, I guess, pictures when you're at your heaviest. I'm going off. Like, how much have you lost now in regards to your weight loss?
I think I'm close to 40. I'm maybe like 37. Lost about 37 kgs. Yeah.
Down. Wow.
Me.
That's crazy. Like, when did you actually start doing that again, though? Was it at the start of the year or before?
I started maybe before I got sick. So mid last year I got sick. I was probably about 120 something. So I
Okay.
dropped from 133 down to that.
Yep.
And then when I got sick, it's probably like 120 something down to I'm 96 now.
Wow.
So yeah, like definitely like 30 kgs.
Wow.
But funny thing is, like, understanding health and how much I didn't understand before, because when I wanted to lose fat, I would take tests, I would take tren, I would take clenbuterol, and all these things that would help me like shred without
Mhm.
really focusing on my food. So um, I was lucky enough to have a health coach who was helping me with like my posture and stuff before I got sick, and he's worked with, I think he's up to like 60 people now. He's helped after like the COVID vaccines, like,
Yeah.
and so I've been on maybe a 6-month protocol, getting rid of the spike proteins in my blood, which are like not good for clots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Heavy metals in my blood, and even like insulin resistance. I'm pre-diabetic, so I've going on carnivore. It wasn't. He didn't tell me to do it. He wanted me to start eating healthy, protein first, veggies and stuff second, and then carbs last.
Hmm.
And that was just so that my body uses carbs better than how it currently was, or how it was
Hmm.
back then when I was sick. And so I just hit a point where I was like, I'm not losing as much fat as I want to. I don't feel good about it. Like, I'm just going to
Hmm.
do carnivore and try it. So I started like ketovore, I think, which is just meat and veggies. And I think I had
Hmm.
pumpkin as my carbs then. And
Yeah.
so that's all I did. Eggs as well. And then after about 30 days, I dropped a bit of weight. I thought, screw it, I've done this enough. I'm just going to go like full carnivore. And so I only ate
Hmm.
steak, eggs, cheese, bacon for the next couple months. And it just starts dropping like dramatically, man. And what I've found,
Mm.
like, especially with like anxiety, depression, is I think a lot of my mental health, sugar and junk food played
Mm.
a massive role. like, like
Yep, I
sugar
can see
and
that.
stuff is good for the brain, man. Like, it doesn't help the brain as much as like fats and eating
Yeah.
healthy, like, yeah, full foods
Yeah.
actually helps you. So I've had to learn a lot going through carnivore. I had to cut out alcohol, had to cut out like sugary foods, and those are the ways that I masked like how I felt,
Hmm.
how
Or
crappy I
treat
felt.
yourself, things
Yeah,
like that. Like, yeah, I want
yeah.
to
So
treat. Yeah.
let go of all of that, man, and that was really hard. But what it made me realize is like, holy crap, when I eat healthy, like I feel good. I feel good,
Mm.
have more energy, I sleep better. I don't wake up to piss like 5 times a night. so, it, like
I know
in
a bit
terms
about
of,
that.
yeah, like feeling when you feel good about yourself, it's way easier to connect with people.
Yeah,
It's been awesome, man. It's been really
that's
cool.
awesome. Are you still doing it now then? Like, you still, like, you fairly
Uh,
strict?
yes, I'll eat carbs. Like, I've got to a point where my insulin, because I test my glucose and my ketones every morning.
Yeah.
Just see where I'm at. Am I in ketosis every day? Pretty much, yes. And so now
Yeah.
I can eat carbs. I can eat fruits. Even like during Easter, I have some chocolate or something.
Yeah.
Um, I can have that, but I know if I'm having carbs, I have to like work out. I have to go for a walk. I have to do a sauna after it. So my body utilizes the sugar, the
Mm.
glucose, the carbs that I put in, instead of
Yeah.
like just storing it and then holding a bunch of water with that. So that's been really cool, man. And my body's like very adapted to ketones and using that to burn fat as fuel, which
That's
is
good.
which has been wicked. Yeah. And my
Yeah.
goal is to, from my coach anyway, is to hit 87 kgs,
Yep.
and then from there I can change it. Stop my spike protein protocol, and
Hmm.
then step into like putting on some muscle again, but
Yep.
also a protocol to help my brain hopefully like get rid of the clots that are in the brain and throat still.
Yeah. So you've still got them in there, and it's just
Haven't
about
changed at all um, since the first moment it bled out. So
Jesus.
that's like unimpressive. I really hoped it would, but it is what
Mm.
it is. It's I've been told that when it clots, even down here, it's like this full chunk down here.
Yep.
Um, your body just starts creating new pathways for like blood to flow. So that's why
Wow.
like memory and stuff. There are still things I don't remember, but it's like literally because part of my brain is closed. So it is what it
Bloody hell.
is.
Does that do you think about it much, or are you at a point where now, like, you don't notice it, you're just aware of it being a
Uh,
thing?
I really only think about it when I realize I don't remember what I'm trying to say. Like,
Okay.
I can't. All the content that I created for the stuff we did with FIFO Mental Health Group, like all the sessions, there's maybe
Mm.
5 90-minute sessions that I created myself. Like, did the
Wow.
presentations, did the writing, did the slide decks, did the text for all of the slide decks, and I'll go back to them and I just can't remember any of it.
Wow.
I go through the deck, I read everything, and I just can't. Like, it just doesn't, in my head, it doesn't work
Mhm.
out for me. So the only moments I realize, like, I don't remember shit is random stuff like that, or even one of my
Yeah.
mates from Gold Coast called me to chat, and I seen his name pop up on the phone. I was like, "Fuck, who's this?" Took the phone call, and he started talking. He's like, "Hey, bro," I was like, "Sorry, who's this?" And he said it, and I was like, "Are you FIFO?" And he's like,
Wow.
maybe I'll just let you call me back a bit later." I was like, "Ah, shit,
Damn.
sorry, man." And then maybe like 2 minutes after I hung up, I realized who it was. I was like, "Holy crap, it's like one of my best friends," and I
Oh,
just don't
wow.
remember his name, you know? It's
Yeah.
crazy.
That must have
Crazy,
been
but
hard. That must have been hard. Yeah, that must have been hard. Bloody hell.
it is.
Mm.
It's hard, um, for like a split second. But even with one of the friends that I caught up with, who was at Fortescue, who's one of the big bosses, I went and had a steak with him. He bought me a steak. I didn't even remember when I met him the first time, like how
Oh,
we met.
wow.
He showed
Wow.
me a picture and he's like, "This is when we met." I was like, "What? Like, are you serious?" Like,
Oh, wow.
I thought we hadn't met each other before. Like,
Wow.
that's how like bad it is. And
Like
he got upset.
amnesia.
He got upset.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was just like, "Oh, dude, like, this means nothing about you. It's not because you're not good enough to remember. It's just because
Mm.
my brain's like not 100% there. I just
Yeah.
forget stuff. Like,
Mm.
because you've reminded me of this, I'll probably remember it. But
Yeah.
like, you gotta remember, I've come out of hospital with a lot that I
Mm.
don't remember. So, so like, oh, apologize, man. You're awesome,
Yeah.
but like, that's got nothing to do with you.
Yeah. And fair enough. I don't know why you would take it that way.
Yeah.
And having known what condition you'd be in, that's a bit strange. Far out. So I guess with this new fitness, because the reason why I ask you about the carnivore is because I've dabbled in it, but I haven't been very strict on it recently. I'm kind of more like some days I'll eat just meat, but then some days if we go out to dinner or whatever, or if we're at my parents-in-laws, I'll eat whatever the meal is, whether it's noodles or whatever. But generally, I'm eating more just steak, chicken, meat, lamb, all that type of stuff, and I feel better doing it. I'm close to getting to the point where I want to try and do it like 100%, but it's hard sometimes for me anyway. It's hard for me. I know no excuses. You can do it. But me, I cave. I will cave if I'm out or if I'm at another place. I'm like, I'm like kind of like 80% carnivore would probably be the way I'd put it.
I would
I
say
feel a
that's
lot better.
the best way to live your life. Like,
Yeah, like I'm not trying not to stress about it too much.
yeah, I'd say that's how I am at the moment. Maybe a little bit more, maybe like 90-10. But
Yeah.
I think if you're someone who's not insulin resistant and you're not doing carnivore to like fix your health, then like, what's the problem with going and doing things with people you like and having carbs,
Yeah.
and just making sure that your body is burning the carbs so that you're like ketosis if you want to be in
Mm.
ketosis. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't need to be in ketosis to drop the body fat or to like utilize fuel, or fat as fuel for your brain or like parts of the
Mm.
body, then yeah, there's no point doing more than that, man. Like, I
Mm.
know there are people who love doing the 30-day challenges and stuff, especially like very popular people. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think people need to go that far. Like, if you're sick like I was and you need to like fix your bloody body, like, it makes sense to commit to
Yeah.
something because you have to.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, someone who doesn't have those problems, like, just do it that way, and life is heaps more enjoyable. Plus, like, you're healthier than most of the planet.
Yeah, that's true. I feel unfit now. I feel like a skinny fat. I hold all my weight around the stomach, But I'm like, I know, having done fitness, like we've been in the fitness for so long, if I really just commit for like a month or two, I could trim it up pretty good. It's just getting myself, it's all mental with me. It's all mental about not having that treat. I'm a sweet tooth. So, Easter and the chocolates around, and, you know, I got in trouble like a week ago. I went and ate a chocolate bunny that was in the fridge that was from one of my daughter's friends. And the look she gave me, like, I'll never live it down. She'll call me Tubbs, and like she'll give it to me. Or she'll look at me and goes, "Are you sure you want to eat that?" I'm like, "Damn, girl." Like, all right. Like, damn. Okay. I need to be better. So I'm just, yeah, I think 80 is probably the best I can do. For me now, it's just about cutting out the sweets when they're around. Like, I'll go all day. I have generally Greek yogurt with protein powder for breakfast. Then I'll have steak or steak and chicken or whatever for lunch. And then I'll have steak or something for dinner. And then it's like the little treat after that. And that's the killer that gets me, I think.
Yeah. I
I need
think
to
one
save
of the
that
things
for
that
going
works
out.
really well for me is like I spent a few months, like 1 month ketovore, like strict, couple months carnivore strict, but hit a point where it was like, cool, I'm doing really well, but I really want to like go have lunch or dinner with my partner,
Yeah.
and have that as our time that we spend together. And so now I do carnivore like all week except for
Hmm.
1 or 2 meals. And
Yeah.
like going out and having those like real fun meals with people that I like makes it feel real easy to do. Like when I think
Hmm.
of like, oh, I've got 3 days of carnivore and then I'll have my meal and then I'll have another three
Hmm.
days and another meal. That feels like doable, and it doesn't feel
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, it doesn't feel like I'm cutting too much out. That it's like, no, I just need a snack right now and eat all this chocolate that I've got
Yeah.
because that's pretty
Yeah.
much was my lifestyle.
Yeah. Well, I definitely know a little bit about that. I go through, I think, binges of that where I'll do it for like 3 months and I get good. And then I just that one trigger, or I'll have one thing that'll set me off and I'm freaking back to craving sweets again. Big thing was for me is drink, like fizzy drinks. I had to cut them out. That was tough. That was tough to cut out fizzy drinks. But definitely, I
Yeah,
feel better
just
for
cut
it.
them out to sugar-free ones.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was addicted to bloody Pepsi Max as it was, but I was drinking way too much of it. Glass full of ice and bit of Pepsi Max. It's just fed on a hot day. Oh God, give it to me. No, don't give it to me. I'm like, I tell my wife, I'm an addict. I'll always be an addict. It's day by day with me when it comes to Pepsi Max. Day by day. Day by day. Oh man. So I guess, so it's awesome to hear that you're on the fitness journey and you're crushing that. So I guess I got probably two more questions I want to ask you. One is, so like, now that you've got this new perspective and wanting to spend more time with your family and live life that way, what's your goal for the next, couple of years? Like, what are you working on now? Is it still do the FIFO stuff and just spend more time with family, or what are you thinking? Where you at?
Yeah, well, with that, I decided to step away from the business, Fight for Mental Health Group, and I
Yep.
was like, I'm going to leave it with one of the partners who was in it, but he's decided to step away as well, and one of the other speakers too. And
Yep.
so I just, put it out there to everyone. Hey, look, I'm stepping away from it. I'm just going to do coaching. It's one-on-one coaching. It's like what I call self-leadership, and really, it's just to break through as a leader. Why are you making so much good money, but you still don't feel happy at home?
Mm.
It's like that. So
Mhm.
that's really the area, and that sort of help people within FIFO, like the supervisors, superintendents, the mine managers. That's what I'm helped them with, but that's just been like they're working for their company to do it. And
Mm.
so now I started to do that one-on-one, which is really cool. And I thought like 100%, FIFO's gone. I'm not going back to it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to try and get work. And then out of nowhere, just started getting like emails from people saying,
Mm.
"Hey, like I know you're not doing it in part of this company before, but like we've got leaders who want you back. Do you want to come back?" And
Wow.
so the weekend just gone, I remember saying to my partner, "Holy shit! I just got this offer from Rio. Like I didn't expect it to happen. I'm just going to think about it and make sure that's what I want to do. And I just thought, I'd think about it over the weekend, and I'd
Hmm.
realize it's not what I should be doing. But it went
Hmm.
the total opposite way, where I was like, man, that's like one day a week for like really good money. And then
Hmm.
I can spend the whole rest of the week focusing on my family. It's like, shit.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm going to do that again, but it's just going to be as myself instead of the business, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And I think it was really nice to even see that and realize how much people wanted me back doing the things
Yeah, it
that
must feel good. Must feel
I
good. And look, you're helping people. You go in there and you're opening people up to look into themselves. It's a good thing you're doing. The main thing is, I think, for you, just focusing on that it doesn't take over your life, where you forget about what you want now, which is more time with your family and yourself. So one
yeah,
day a week, mate, that's awesome.
yeah, and it's cool because before I got sick with the strokes and stuff, um, I sat down with my business partner and I said, "Hey, I want to sell this business. Like, I've cut my work down to like 2 days a week on site at max." And then that was for 4 weeks in a row. And then I would have, a couple of weeks off. And that was my goal before I got sick. And so,
Mhm.
so it's nice to know that like I still feel the same way moving forward. It's like not focusing on being away, because being away, although it allows me to help people, isn't the thing that I
Mhm.
need for connection with my family.
Yeah. You know what? I just thought of something. You mentioned at the start that you had that feeling that you weren't enough for people and that you wanted to do these things to be enough. Just think about now, you've got big businesses and people that work there that even though you stepped away from something, they've come back wanting to let you know how much they value you and how much they want you to be there. Just think about that, mate. You literally do have people that think you're valuable and want you to be around even when you're not searching for it. That's amazing. Like, just think of the karma of that. Because of all the good work you've put in, you've, without even knowing it, you have all these people that value what you do and want you to be there to help them, that they've reached
Yeah,
back out to you and asked you to come back. That is
it's
fucking
amazing, man.
awesome.
I feel
That
very
is
grateful
awesome.
for it.
That is awesome. And I think that's probably why you probably feel better about doing it, because you're not chasing it; it's come to you. Uh,
Yeah, it's a cool way to look
and
at it. Yeah, that's wicked.
yeah, it's come to you, bro. So that is awesome. Like, that's, I believe in that. Putting good out there and having it'll come back to you. So I feel like that's what's happened. Yeah, that's amazing. So I guess with that, then, I feel like we could talk forever because you've had such a interesting and roller coaster of a life, mate. Bloody hell. But I guess a point of this show is to give people some, a good conversation, but also to give them some advice about things they can do. And one thing I always like to ask people is, what advice would you give, or would you have wanted to hear when you got started, to someone who's maybe wanting to make a change in their life, whatever that is, but they're not quite sure how to start or what to do? What advice would you give them, being where you're at with following your dreams and doing, your passion?
I think with anything, no matter what it is that you're going through, it's really easy to go through trauma, or to not feel good enough, or to feel angry, and to throw that out to the people around you, and blame it on the people around you. But when you focus on yourself, um, and breathing and connecting to your body and understanding how you actually feel, like you can let go of anger, because anger is really just the thing that sits on top sadness. And that's what it protects you from. Oh, I'm not going to be sad, I'm not going to show that I'm sad, I'm going to be angry instead, because that's going to protect me from the people that are out there. And so when you connect to yourself, whether it's breathing or whatever else you do, connect to yourself, you connect to your body, you understand what you feel, and then you teach yourself um, teach yourself how to actually feel that and accept it. Then it becomes easier to have these things pop up, like memories from your past, whether it's how someone treats you today, and to feel that to the point where you know what the emotion is, you know where it is in the body. And once you've accepted both of those, you can let that go. And like that heaviness that you let go, that sadness, that, not feeling good enough, that betrayal, when you let that emotion go, that feeling from your body dissipates too, whether it's tension or pain or whatever. And then the good version of the emotion comes in. And so, you've got to do it for that side, but you've also got to like spend time feeling the good stuff that comes in. Because like if happiness, if joy, if like relax or peace comes in and you don't feel it, you're never gonna know like what it feels to have the the byproduct of putting that work in for yourself.
Yeah.
And so that's really what it is. I call it like body emotion reset, and it's something that you can do every day. Just breathing, just feeling what's in your body, and then asking yourself, what emotion is this? And if you breathe and feel that emotion, it'll let go. And it doesn't mean it's going to let go forever. It just means that the emotion that you have in you for that moment is going to go. And the more you do that, the faster you can do it. And the more you do that, the faster you do it. These memories pop up from stuff that you went through as a kid, as a teenager, maybe even recently. And then you feel, accept, and release those as well. And then, of course, you've got to accept the joy, the relax, the peace, the whatever that comes in as a result of that. So that's when you start doing that, you start letting go of all the stuff that puts you in these places where you have to prove you're good. You have to prove you're good enough. You have to treat people poorly so you feel in power and control, whatever. So yeah, that's probably the thing I would ask people to do. Obviously, you're going to have to want to do that, and that's a massive thing. It's like you're going to have to want to take control of the way you show up, not for life in general, not for the people around you, but for yourself. And when you show up for yourself and better yourself, you become a better version of you, like as a man, dad, partner, boss, leader, whatever it is that you actually are.
Yeah, mate, thank you so much. That is beautiful, and that really hits home with me, especially because I love the feeling of like when it comes to anything, no one's going to come and save you. You have to take charge and take accountability of your life if you want to make it better. You have to make the change. And I've had someone tell me once that they're like, "Well, if you don't know where to start, where do you start?" Well, that's a perfect place to start. Your advice right there. Start breathing, start connecting with your feelings, get into health and fitness. That'll help you start connecting with your body physically and how you feel. I really think that's a great mental way to start looking at yourself to make a change, because there is no magic pill that you can take, right? Where you just are just going to feel better and go and get better opportunities. You actually have to sit with yourself and be comfortable with yourself and know yourself for real. And I think in this day and age, I think people really distract themselves with, these things and whatever it is. Like, look, I'm guilty of it too, and I'm just becoming more aware of catching myself and I think policing myself. I think that's a great point too. Mate, I thank you for all your advice and opening up on this chat today. And I'd love to do it again one day. And I need to introduce you to Rob, because I think you two would get along really well. You've been in the same industry and dealt with a lot of similar issues. I think you guys would have you'd have a great conversation. Give love to your beautiful partner and your lovely little ones. And thanks again for coming on, mate. And everybody else, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to put, you okay with me putting your socials in the description if they want to follow along with your journey? Because you talk a lot of motivational stuff and you share a lot of stuff. And I think, I've watched it. I've watched you talk about your fitness and being in the sauna and your cold baths and stuff. And it is inspiring. So I'd love to put a link in there. I'll do that so people can follow you.
Cheers. Thank you.
And yeah, thanks again for making the time, Lachie. And yeah, everybody else, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.